Finally, preseason football is done, he says, as there's a preseason football game going on right now. It is Sunday night. Adam Azer here with Dave Richard and Jamey Eisenberg. Big day for me, by the way. Guess who I followed on Twitter today? On X.
Dave?
Are we supposed to care?
Thomas Schaefer. Did not realize until today that I was not following.
Whoa, that's terrible.
That who else?
The producer of your own podcast.
Yeah, I know it's bad. It's like
and cable TV show. Yep. Now you're just now following him? Okay, I see.
Agree or disagree with this preseason observation? Aaron Rodgers looked weird in a Jets uniform, but damn, Garrett Wilson sure looked good with Aaron Rodgers.
He looked like the Great Gazoo. That helmet is just like so huge on him. And it's a big old green like he's got the green egg, right? Isn't that what they call that smoker, that grill?
I don't know, but maybe it was
Heath would know.
You're asking the baked burger guy what they call it, smoker.
True. That was nice though, that connection he had.
Big green egg.
Good stuff.
He's Jamey, wearing a big green egg on his head. It'll keep his brain healthy.
Who is the biggest winner from the weekend, Jamey?
From the weekend, the biggest winner from the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say Marvin Mims.
Okay. When do you draft Marvin Mims? When do you draft Marvin Mims?
I would start looking for Marvin Mims in round 10.
Wow. That's interesting. Because what if Judy's back by week 3 or so?
I don't think Judy's back by week 3.
Well, that's a month.
It's a month from when he got hurt. It's entirely possible he's back, but he could also be terrible when he comes back.
Let's see who's going in round 10. That would be guys like Zach Charbonnet, Zay Flowers, and Samaje Perine.
Okay, so he's not going in that range.
So how?
I think we see receivers going sooner.
How about the Kenneth Gainwell range?
I'll say round 12.
Okay. Dave, who's the biggest winner for you this weekend?
We already said it, Aaron Rodgers. Not only does he have a terrific helmet that reminds me of grills and 1960s cartoons, but he also is he's going to be fine behind what should be a good enough offensive line.
Oh, but how confident do you feel in that statement? Because that is the big question mark that
for now I'm as confident as I can be, which, if you can tell by the sound of my voice, isn't extremely confident. He's not playing in Philadelphia, but it's a better line. It seems like a better line than it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it just might be because everybody's healthy. And he didn't look completely embarrassing out there. He did not look like he reverted to the first half of last year. And I think people are going to be excited to draft him, maybe too excited. But I think having Garrett Wilson is going to be very exciting.
What is up with Jamey's shirt today? Is that
it's
your
Oscar the Grouch shirt?
Yeah, Oscar the Grouch shirt.
How do you know if somebody's been hanging out with somebody for I don't know the last 18 years? You know his wardrobe.
I got a winner for you. Your thoughts? Tank Bigsby. I know he fumbled. He did fumble going into the end zone, but he really played. He played a lot with the first teamers on the first.
But has it changed your opinion on him?
So it has changed my opinion on him. It hasn't changed my opinion on ETN, but I'm wondering if it should.
Well, if Tank Bigsby is going to play as much as he is slated to play, which is what I think you have to sort of anticipate at this point, that they're going to use him quite a bit. I kind of think that's what we've been saying for a couple of weeks now. So this, I'll speak for myself. This weekend didn't change things for me, for either guy, because I think ETN is still going to be the better of the two. I think he's still going to get enough high leverage touches, and the fact that he was still in on enough third downs, and we'll still get enough goal line opportunities. I just go back to what I said. I think it was the end of last week. He was so good last year with 5 touchdowns, and he's going to score more than 5 touchdowns this year. So I think he's a solid pick in round 3, and Bigsby is still going to be a very excellent pick somewhere in the middle rounds, depending on how early you want to buy into him. So both guys, I think, have the chance to be successful. I think you view them as a similar version, to whatever extent you want to view each guy, to like the Steelers running backs at this point. Like Jalen Warren and Tank Bigsby are going to have opportunities to be successful. I think ETN's just got a higher ceiling than Najee Harris at this point.
You know who's a big winner? Hello, I'm sorry. Didn't mention this one. Josh Jacobs is back. Remember him? Josh Jacobs, one of the top running backs in fantasy last year, signed a 1-year deal that could be worth up to $12 million. So this is, basically a better version of the franchise tag. And Dave, where are we drafting Josh Jacobs now?
I moved him up in my running back rankings 1 whole spot. Wow.
Ahead of
Jonathan Taylor. He was behind Jonathan Taylor, just on the hunch that Jonathan Taylor does get traded, and we didn't know when Josh Jacobs would be back. Now we know Josh Jacobs is back. So for now, he is ahead of Jonathan Taylor. He remains a round 2 pick. I think in non-PPR, he's closer to the 1-2 turn than in PPR, but it's not by much. It probably shouldn't be much at all. He caught a lot of passes last year. I'm nervous about him going backward. First 3 years of his career, 14 PPR points per game. That's still great. Last year, 19. I don't see him getting 19 PPR points per game this year. So round 2 for me on Josh Jacobs.
Okay. Tell me, I hate to drill into this, but more specifically, where in round 2? Are you taking him after, Garrett Wilson and
Yes.
Devontae Adams,
Yes.
Jalen Waddle? I mean,
Yes.
So the end of round 2.
Yeah,
No,
I think I have him in front of Waddle. Him and Henry for me are the two guys that I look at after the top tier wide receivers. I have Waddle and Devontae Smith right after them.
Okay. Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, or Jacobs?
I have those guys ahead of the quarterback.
I have Jacobs ahead of quarterback too.
Okay. All right. So how would you feel about starting your draft? McCaffrey, Jacobs from the 2 or the 3 spot.
Seems like good value.
I think knowing that you're going to end up hopefully with one of, maybe Devontae Smith, but Olave or T. Higgins, that's a good way to go.
And then in round 4, you'll be able to get somebody, one of those late round 4 wide receivers. Could be Hopkins, could be Cooper. Hopefully it's one of them because there's a drop off after that.
What do you guys think of Deshaun Watson? I just did an FFT in 5 with Chris. I had to give a winner and a loser, and I said, look, I don't want to react too much to preseason week 3. This was not the most revealing week. There wasn't a ton of starters playing. They didn't play for that long. I just didn't really love what I saw from Watson, even with that 53-yard completion to a wide open Amari Cooper. What'd you guys think?
I haven't watched him yet, so I don't want to give an answer, but I'm curious what you saw that you didn't like.
He just doesn't look that great to me.
Okay.
He still hasn't played that much, so I still think for me, it was like he was clear QB9. Now it's really close with him and Tua. I don't know. Jamey, did you get a chance to see him?
Yeah, I did. I came away the same way I felt about him for the last couple of weeks based on the reports that he just doesn't look great. Same thing.
Okay.
So he's does not have the same upside as Anthony Richardson, in my opinion. He does not have the same upside as Tua Tagovailoa. So he's to me, Dak Prescott, same thing. A guy that you should settle for. Still a number 1 quarterback. Still has the potential to be a top 10 guy, but not somebody that I want to target in drafts. I think if you're taking him, you should be prepared to take a second quarterback too.
That I agree with.
I
mean, I liked him before the preseason game. I just haven't watched it yet. But if you guys say he looked bad, then that probably means
he didn't look bad.
Not bad.
He just did not look impressive against a select group of Eagles guys.
Chiefs, right? They played the Chiefs.
They played the Chiefs.
And it was, the Chiefs had enough of their starters, but not the entire time.
Yeah, but there's no Chris Jones. I mean, that's a big part of it. And the Browns were clearly with an MO there.
Yeah. Yeah, he was okay. Just was hoping to see
the throw to David Njoku was nice.
The touchdown I saw.
Yeah,
that was a nice throw. But he was like at 50% completions.
Yes, I think exactly.
7 to 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, let's
see.
He was 5 of 10.
Yeah, that doesn't sound so good.
For 92 yards and a touchdown.
Still at a QB rating of 115.4. That has to be because of the touchdown and the Cooper throw.
QB rating is so heavily influenced, just for everyone benefit here. Touchdown interception ratio.
Yeah.
Is so much of it. Okay. Big week for us. we got the Draftathon on Wednesday and an exciting show from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern. It's our Draftathon, all to raise money for St. Jude. We've already raised a ton of money. We want to keep raising more. We set our record. We beat last year's number. Now let's keep it going. In fact, if you're watching on YouTube at youtube.com/fantasyfootball today, go ahead and hit that donate button, please. We'd really appreciate it. Anything you can spare. It all goes to St. Jude, and we're helping pediatric cancer patients and their families. Okay. This is a cause that we can all get behind here. On the Draftathon, we're going to have the most incredible lineup of guests. It's going to be super fun. In fact, the 8 to 10 hours is going to be Nando DeFino the entire time. Plus Will Brinson, Pete Prisco, Nick Costos, Nathan Zagura, hopefully Jason Horowitz, Tara Roberts is going to be, this is just 8 to 10. All right. That's not even including Joe Pisapia and Jake Seeley and Ray GQ and a bunch of CBS Sports talent as well. So cannot wait for it. Ben Gretsch is going to kick it off with us at 4:00 Eastern. And if you donate during the show from 4 to 10, and it's all going to be on YouTube, all right, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. If you donate during the show, we'll grade your draft. I don't know how much we're going to be, asking for that donation, but we'll grade your draft. I get a lot of grade my draft emails. I don't respond to them typically. You want your draft graded on the show? Donate to St. Jude and we'll do it for you. Also, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, we are on CBS Sports Network. We're going national, baby. National TV, CBS Sports Network, channel 215 for me, for what it's worth, but look it up for you. 11 to noon on Monday and Tuesday, 10:30 to 11:30 on Friday. So if you're listening to this on Monday, stop what you're doing at 11 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, and watch us on CBS Sports Network.
You could also use your DVR.
Yeah, it's fine. But watch us live, right? But no, that's fine. DVR it. News and notes other than Josh Jacobs. So there was a report before the game this weekend that rookie running back Sean Tucker for the Buccaneers, who has a medical condition, a heart condition that knocked him basically. He was undrafted because of it. He was taking first team reps with the, in practice, but that did not happen. As far as I know, I don't think he played until the third quarter in the preseason game. It was a pretty good day, I guess, for Rachaad White. Dave, what's your read on the Bucs backfield?
I like Tucker. I thought his film from Syracuse was good. If you watched their first preseason game, you saw Tucker score a nice touchdown, and then it got called back by a penalty. I think he's got some potential, and we know that Rachaad White isn't a perfect running back, but it definitely seems like White's going to be given several opportunities to be the main runner in Tampa. And they still have Chase Edmonds. So Tucker could be somebody worth a stash in deeper leagues. In a typical 12-team, 1 QB league with 7 bench spots, I doubt Sean Tucker gets rostered. But he's talented, and we'll see if he ever gets an opportunity. He's going to be the first name I go for if Rachaad White goes down with an injury.
Jamie, do you think he's a threat to Rachaad White? Could he make Rachaad White a bust in round, say, 7-ish?
No way at that value.
No.
They would have to, bring Fournette back, I think, for that to happen at this point. But I wouldn't rule out Keyshawn Vaughn also getting involved too. So they'll probably go with some level of a committee if White's not there. The interesting thing will be is who is going to complement White now. So who's going to be the one that's in the 5 to 10 touch range, because White's not going to get every single carry. So that's the question mark. So Tucker should be the first one that you're looking at. He's not a bad handcuff if you're going that route with a deeper bench. But I agree with Dave. I don't think you can see him drafted in most 5-man bench leagues.
Would you rather have Rachaad White or Alexander Madison?
Madison.
Rachaad White or Cam Akers?
White.
Javonte Williams or Rachaad White?
White.
Okay. The Cowboys acquired Trey Lance from San Francisco for a 4th-round pick. Keeper drop in a dynasty league. Trey Lance.
I would keep in a super flex dynasty league. I would probably be looking at him as an end of roster guy, depending on who's on waivers.
Okay. All right.
If you need the roster spot and you're good at quarterback for the long haul, you could let him go. But I wouldn't spike cut him. If there's somebody on waivers that you really like better in your dynasty league, then if he's your worst guy, you could cut him for him. But otherwise,
Dak's contract is almost up, right?
Yep.
Who? What?
Dak's contract is almost up.
Year, I think, left.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that he's going to be great. He landed with a team that should have really like it was a good fit. And he couldn't make it work. The injuries during the season, that's one thing. The fact that he couldn't beat Sam Darnold out this preseason is another.
Would you drop Trey Lance in a dynasty league for Aiden O'Connell of the Raiders?
I do like O'Connell. I like what I've seen from him. I don't know how mad of a rush there's going to be to pick up O'Connell, though, in a 1 QB dynasty league.
2 QB.
Oh.
Well, 2 QB, both these guys are staying rostered. There's no chance.
Yeah.
Let's say
but I can only have one
draft now. Who would you rather have?
I think Aiden O'Connell will play this year because I don't know if Garoppolo will stay healthy based on his track record.
Yeah.
But I think if Aiden O'Connell is playing this year, the Raiders are drafting Caleb Williams.
It could end up being that way.
Okay. Adam Thielen left with an injury, but he appears to be okay. By the way,
came back and scored a touchdown.
We're going to, then he's definitely okay. We're going to talk about preseason winners and losers, not just from week 3, but the whole shebang, just who's been the biggest risers and fallers for us.
Even the Hall of Fame game.
Sure. Let's see. Cleveland's got Jakeem Grant, wide receiver / special teams player, out for the season, and cornerback Denzel Ward in the concussion protocol. Tampa Bay center Ryan Jensen is out for the season and possibly going to have to retire. Last year, Jensen tore his ACL, MCL, PCL, and meniscus. He broke a bone. He damaged cartilage in his knee. He missed the entire regular season, played in the playoff game, said it was probably a mistake, and now he's been ruled out. He just cannot recover from that. It's really a shame. Kadarius Toney could practice this week for the Chiefs. Chigo Okonkwo expected back at practice. Romeo Doubs missed the game with a hamstring injury. Don't have any indication that it's serious. Kansas City running back Isaiah Pacheco played. Buffalo running back Damian Harris played. I would also call him a winner, guys. Damian Harris was mixed in there with the first team. That was something we hadn't seen this preseason. It was basically all James Cook. Dave, any nerves now about James Cook?
No. We knew that Damian Harris, when the Bills got him, could be used as a pure rundowns and short yardage goal line guy. And I would expect that to continue to happen. If you get James Cook, I would still expect James Cook to play the most of all the running backs. Certainly he should have more touches, unless there's a Buffalo game where somehow Damian Harris ends up with like a hot hand and 25 carries. That doesn't seem like the Buffalo way to me. I'm still looking James Cook's way in like round 6.
Okay, but if I'm going to be the pessimist here, if someone like Sean Tucker is going to play a real role for the Bucs, which it doesn't seem like you guys think is going to happen, Rachaad White is, behind potentially a bad offensive line. He might not be that good. We don't know. He wasn't very good last year. The offense might stink. That's the kind of guy he needs to have the vast majority of the touches for him to not be a bust. Meanwhile, for James Cook, he's super good. But the Bills don't typically throw to their running backs a lot. And if he's not going to score the touchdowns, if that's going to be Allen and now Damian Harris, well, now I'm looking at 2 running backs who might be going in round 6 that could be fool's gold. That's the pessimistic view.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why they're going in round 6, though. You're looking at guys that are settle for number 2 running backs, with still some upside. I mean, I certainly share some of your sentiment. But
that's a pessimistic person's sentiment. That's not necessarily my sentiment.
No, I understand where you come from, Mr. Pessimistic sentiment.
Pessimistic.
But I think the hope would be Rachaad White's coming off a 50-catch season and still has the chance to be heavily involved in a passing game that just lost one of their wide receivers, and Baker Mayfield very underrated in how he throws to his running backs. And I think you got to buy into a little bit of what the rhetoric is coming out of Buffalo, that they want less running from Josh Allen and maybe more out of their run game from both those guys. So I don't mind taking those shots on either one. I prefer James Cook because of what you said. I think he's more talented.
Well, I'm going to do my SNL impression here. Buffalo running backs have rushed for 8 or fewer touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 seasons.
Now do Tampa Bay last year.
There's not a sad enough trombone for that. All right, let's finish up here. The Giants released James Robinson. The Browns acquired Pierre Strong from the Patriots.
I like that move.
Yeah, that was interesting. Does that mean Jerome Ford's not going to be ready to go to start the year?
I think it was a combo move for them, that they like Pierre Strong as because their third running back has been terrible too. So it's not like they're just looking at.
Yeah.
at a second guy. But Pierre Strong could play in the return game for them, and losing Jakeem Grant, I think, will have Pierre Strong on the field in that regard as well. So it was a good move. It frees him up to play behind a 27, 28-year-old running back in Nick Chubb, and who knows what happens if he misses any time, because I don't think that Jerome Ford would get all of the work. So this might be the opportunity that he needed.
We haven't. Never mind. Sorry. It's going off on a different tangent there. Anyway, the Patriots acquired offensive lineman Tyrone Wheatley Jr. Fun fact, Tyrone Wheatley, his dad, first football jersey I ever owned.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course, a giant.
Patriots offensive lineman Riley Reif left.
I have a Tyrone Wheatley story that I'll tell you off the air.
Okay. And the Patriots offensive line has been a little beat up. I think they're going to hope here before the season starts, but that's been kind of a worry for them. And according to ESPN, Tyquan Thornton, Patriots wide receiver, could be a candidate to start the season on IR. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, I got 5 quick questions, and then all of the risers and fallers from the preseason. We'll be right back. We are back. All right, 5 quick questions. You draft an A.J. Dillon or a Commanders running back?
PPR, it's Gibson, Dillon, Robinson.
Robinson, Dillon, Gibson. Format does not matter.
So Gibson is top for Jamey and third for Dave. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
PPR. Okay. Question number 2. Which offense is the surprise offense of 2023? The Lions from last year. Who's that version this year?
I'll say the Saints.
Ooh, okay. Question number 3. In 2020.
No. Packers.
Oh, okay.
I like the Packers better than the Saints.
In 2020, I remember several of us saying that if you already have your QB1, you should draft Daniel Jones over Aaron Rodgers because Jones has more upside than Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers won the MVP that year and averaged literally more than twice as many fantasy points per game as Daniel Jones. So who should you draft for upside this year, Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers?
Same answer.
Oh boy.
What do you think, Dave?
That's an Anthony Richardson line if there ever was one. I currently have Jones one spot ahead of Rodgers.
Okay.
I like them both though. I'm starting to feel really good about QBs 13 through 17 in my rankings. Cousins, Geno, Daniel Jones has looked great all summer. Rodgers looked great in the preseason game. I know he's looked good in camp too. And Jared Goff in Detroit.
I'm starting to get a little worried that we, as a fantasy community, are just getting too excited about too many quarterbacks like Love and Pickett like Love and Pickett and Richardson.
Nobody's drafting those guys as starters in one quarterback leagues.
Nope. But some people are drafting them as like bench guys, hoping that one or two of them, one or both, I guess I should say, take off. But
forget about them. But what about their wide receivers? Are we moving up? Maybe it's just going to be a great year for quarterbacks. Maybe these guys are about to hit their stride. But
this is more, I think, a conversation on taking Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts at the spots that they're going, as opposed to trusting these late round guys, because these late round guys are guys you would drop anyway if they stink in a one quarterback league. Mm-hmm. It's a question of, like Dave said, I agree with him. That group of quarterbacks, I think there's going to be probably 2 of these guys that we ranked too low or just didn't buy into enough because of whatever the circumstances may be, an injury in front of them, somebody's a bust, whether it's, Tua getting hurt or Richardson stinking or Watson being that bad, or, Dak just continuing to throw interceptions, whatever the case may be, so you look at what Geno did last year and now he gets a better weapon. You look at what Rodgers going to new team, more motivation. You look at, Jared Goff just building off what he did, in Ben Johnson's offense. You can make cases for all of these guys to be, successful. Daniel Jones still runs for 700 yards, but now throws for, nearly 4,000. And his touchdowns, spike. So there's lots to like about all these guys, but there's a reason that they're ranked where they're ranked, because there's just as much downside in some of these cases. So for me, that's why I sort of pass on those 3 quarterbacks early, because I prefer to live in the second tier of guys. The Lamar, Fields,
Burrow,
Herbert,
Lawrence.
And then
there's got to be a
Lawrence,
name we can call those guys.
Lawrence, Richardson, and Tua. The next tier behind them. To me, that's a better place to, get value with still getting the upside. But if you miss on those guys, somebody's, just a little bit more aggressive than you, or just has different draft spots, then if you fall back and get, Cousins and Daniel Jones, I'm thrilled with that because I probably have a loaded running back and receiving core.
4 J's and a Trevor.
Justin, Joe,
Jackson.
okay. And a Trevor. Okay. Question number 4.
Quad J's.
You drafting DeAndre Hopkins or Christian Watson?
Watson.
Question number 5. Najee Harris starts this season with San Francisco, and they gave up the fewest fantasy points to running backs last season. After that, it's Cleveland, Las Vegas, and Houston. Those 3 teams were 27th, 28th, and 32nd against running backs.
But okay.
Does this change anything for you with Najee Harris that he could get off to a good start after week 1?
No.
I would think, though, if you are interested in Najee Harris and you missed on him, and he's now falling into round 5, so I don't know how many people are getting interested in Najee Harris, that if he does have a stinker of a game in week 1, and it's not because of Jalen Warren taking him off the field, it's just because he played a really good defense, then you might be able to buy low on him, especially if a team that drafted Najee Harris did it earlier in preseason and may need some wide receiver help. Let's say there's got to be people out there that had wide receiver 1. Let's just say it was Jalen. They went running back Jalen Waddle, and then, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got Jerry Jeudy and Terry McLaurin. And Najee Harris was sandwiched in between there. That you can maybe flip whatever wide receiver you want to, Brandon Ayuk, let's say, for Najee Harris, because Najee had a bad game and Ayuk looked decent.
It's pretty rare when we suggest trading a player after 1 week. Like even Allen Robinson, who looked miserable last year in his first game, like we still gave him a few weeks to really make sure that he absolutely sucked before we punted on him. So I don't know if you're going to be able to have success trading for Najee, but what if the Browns' run defense is actually pretty good? Because they've bulked up. I think their defense is actually going to be really good this year.
Yeah.
And what if Houston, with what they've done this offseason, maybe they're a little bit better. I'm not saying anything about Las Vegas. So maybe after the first 4 weeks of the season, if Najee is playing a lot, but not putting up huge numbers, I mean, there's still 2 games with Cincinnati, 2 games with Baltimore. I don't know if I'm necessarily afraid of Baltimore, but the bottom line is that maybe that's the opportunity you're looking for. Maybe you got to give people 3 or 4 weeks to really see their guys stink before you make a trade for them on the low.
Okay, let's go to our rankings risers / preseason winners. And let's take a look at Dave's list. These are just guys that throughout the preseason have, caught your eye or risen in your rankings. You're more excited about them now than you were. So we start with the one quarterback on your list, and that would be Jordan Love. He's QB 24 in Fantasy Pros ADP. And where's Jordan Love for you?
Jordan Love for me is right in that same range, and I'm not even sure that I can say with a straight face that he should be drafted in 1 QB leagues. But I love the way that he looks. He's 19th for me. Love the way that he's thrown the ball this preseason. I thought his first preseason game was his worst, and I thought he bounced back in his second. All accounts from training camp and the joint practice with Cincinnati and the joint practice with New England is that he looks really, really good. And I wouldn't expect a lot of rushing, but I would expect him to connect with both Watson and Dobbs. And I think this Packers offense, like I said, I think that they're going to be really good. I think Jaden Reed's going to contribute. Not that he's going to be great for fantasy. Luke Musgrave, their rookie tight end. They've got young guys at receiver, and their offensive line should be good enough. And so Jordan Love has taken a step forward that I did not see coming before training camp opened.
Love or Pickett?
Love.
Jamey, love or Pickett?
Love, but I go back and forth on these 2 guys. So
they're both interesting. Pickett's another winner, but again, 1 QB leagues outside of Pennsylvania, I don't think you're going to see Pickett drafted that much.
Correct. I would still take Sam Howell over both.
I've got both those guys over Howell.
All right, Jahmyr Gibbs is a rankings riser for you. He's currently on Fantasy Pros. He's RB 14. He's going at the end of round 3 in a 12-team league. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going after Joe Mixon. Where do you have Jahmyr Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs has moved into round 3 for me, and I remember scoffing at the idea in PPR back when he was drafted. There's no way we can put him in round 3. He's 33rd for me. I'm aggressive. He apparently torched the Giants in their joint practices. I don't believe he's played a preseason snap.
He has.
He has not.
He has.
Oh, he did?
He has?
The first week, I remember Montgomery did not play. Gibbs did play quite a bit early in that game.
Did he? Let's take a look.
Mhm.
Did he get a lot of touches?
Actually, it was probably the Giants game. Yeah, it was week 1. Yeah, he got a lot of touches. He caught a pass downfield on 3rd down. They ran him between the tackles a lot, which I liked. He wasn't some gimmicky rusher. So he did play.
Okay. 18 snaps over the entire preseason. Looks like they all came against the G-men. So, of course, you watch that. No, I'm optimistic that he's, we've talked about it and we've seen it where the young running back gets drafted and overtakes the veteran. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen to the degree where Gibbs becomes a league winner, but it could be close to that. And I think he'll catch a lot of passes and break a lot of big runs and exciting player for fantasy. So in an area of the running back rankings where I don't love a lot of players, especially in full PPR, he's one that I've kind of gravitated toward, and I like what I've heard about him this summer.
But you've really changed your tune because you were concerned
I
about his
was.
usage. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can change. I can, I made a change on Breece Hall, as a matter of fact.
Hey, if you can change, then they can change. So anyway, ETN or Gibbs?
I think I have Gibbs over ETN.
It's been that way for me for long
Has
time.
he been in round 3 for you this whole time?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Good for you. Or maybe bad for you.
Maybe.
Now that I'm
Maybe bad
jinxing him.
Mixon or Jahmyr Gibbs?
I can't go that far with Gibbs.
That's the one I struggle with in PPR because I feel like I want to take Gibbs and I don't want to draft Mixon.
Last question. Sorry.
But yeah, still Mixon right now.
Last question. What's a better value, Gibbs at the 3-4 turn or David Montgomery at the 7-8 turn?
Montgomery.
What's the format?
0.738 PPR.
It may still be Montgomery because I still think Gibbs isn't scoring a ton of touchdowns and Montgomery's their guy in short yardage.
Well, that's the part of it. It's like we're negating the fact that Montgomery's going to have a bigger role in the passing game than Jamal Williams did.
Mm-hmm.
So while the touchdowns are not going to come close to what Williams did last year, he's not getting 17 touchdowns. Montgomery is. But if he gets, let's say, 8 or 9, he'll have maybe 15 more receptions than Williams did.
All right, Jalen Warren and Rashawn Johnson are 2 guys that you like late. I assume you like Warren ahead of Johnson.
I do, but they're back to back, and I look at them as both top 100 players. I saw a draft board today on my Twix timeline that had Warren as the second to last pick in the entire draft.
Wow.
Couldn't believe it. I love the potential for them if they ever get into their roles. We talk about lottery ticket running backs constantly. These are 2 of them. I think that Roshan really has a shot to be the Bears' best back by mid-October.
This is what I don't understand. Then why are we also calling Khalil Herbert a winner this preseason? Why are you comfortable drafting Khalil Herbert?
I didn't call him a winner.
I think right now you have to treat Herbert as the starter. And if he doesn't do anything to lose the job, he's still the one you'd rather draft first. Roshan is the unknown. He's the X factor of what this team is. He's certainly the better value if you're talking about this team. And so if you're trying to get a piece of the Bears backfield, if that's something that's your intent when you're drafting, especially once you get past, let's say, around 5 or 6 and you're looking for upside plays, I would still take Herbert first if he falls. But it's not a bad idea to take 2 of those guys. And now Foreman got hurt, and who knows what his role is going to be. I think he was dealing with a rib injury, if I'm not mistaken, leaving the preseason game. But I don't even know if that matters. It seems like these 2 guys are the clear-cut running backs here. The fact that Roshan Johnson is getting pass protection opportunities ahead of Khalil Herbert, he's getting passing down work ahead of Khalil Herbert. He may be the more physical of the 2 and getting goal line opportunities. So, this is one of these guys that you want to gravitate toward. And if he does hit, he could be pretty special.
Could be a league winner. How about this idea? You're in your draft, you go hero RB, you got your running back in round 1 or round 2, you take a bunch of receivers and tight end and quarterback, and in round 8 you take Herbert, and in round 9 you take Roshan.
Here's my issue. I don't, Jamey, you just kind of discounted Deontay Foreman and said it seems, what you said. I don't want to misquote you, but actually on Saturday, he was very much involved playing ahead of Roshan Johnson. He was playing with the starters, getting the second series, as I recall. So why is it, maybe this rib injury is significant, but if it's not, why is he just going away? You know, that's kind of.
I viewed Deontay Foreman as if they need somebody, they're going to use him. I think they're going to play the other two guys ahead of him.
There's a chance they trade him.
All right, we'll see. All right, Dave, we can't spend the whole time on your list. I'm sorry, it's my fault. So let's speed up here. Calvin Ridley and Romeo Doubs. Just tell me where you're drafting them.
Doubs is one of the reasons why I'm getting excited about Jordan Love. And Jamey will remember this. I couldn't stand Romeo Doubs when we initially put our rankings out there, and I really didn't change my tune until training camp got underway, and just love the way that he's been playing. The routes have been great. Yeah, he hasn't made a fool of himself yet like he did last year. He made a bunch of rookie mistakes, and he seems to have learned from them. Appears to be kind of the short and intermediate receiver with some consistency in this Packers passing game. So I'm kind of getting excited about taking him in round 8. That might feel a little bit too high for Doubs, especially with Jordan Love under center, but I think he can give you a pretty decent 10 to 12 PPR floor with a couple of touchdowns mixed in. Loved his touchdown this preseason where he just kind of tried to like quasi-mossed a dude.
Aaron Nagler covers the Packers and who's been covering them forever. He was asked a question over the weekend: who's going to lead the Packers in receptions? And he didn't hesitate. He said Doubs, and it might not be close.
That's again. That was said in training camp or mini camp actually after the NFL draft. It's amazing, and this is why I'm wondering if we're overdrafting Christian Watson.
I believe he said that he does not have the upside of Christian Watson. But,
no, he does not.
Again, it's a matter of receptions versus production. Like you can still lead the team in receptions and not be the best receiver there.
Sure. He could have 85 catches for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. And Watson averaged, I think, a touchdown every 4.5 catches last year.
All right, that's not going to happen again. But
well, shoot, dude, he's talented. It's very sky ceiling high, but sky ceiling high. Yeah.
All right, Calvin Ridley, is he the first?
Ridley, I think, is going to end up being the number 1 receiver in Jacksonville. I know I did the research saying that Doug Peterson's never had a receiver with a higher than like a 21.5 target share. He's never had a receiver like Ridley. He's just looked amazing throughout the entire camp.
Mid-round 3?
Throughout the preseason, yes.
Okay. Where are you drafting Juwan Johnson and Sam Laporta?
Late round picks, guys that you'll start with either as a starting tight end on your fantasy team or as a guy on your bench just to see what happens. Kind of okay with Juwan Johnson just because of the matchup in week 1. Laporta, I would have a little bit more patience with through the first at least 3 or 4 games of the season just to see how he gets involved in the offense. But it sounds like the Lions really like him a lot, and he's looked pretty good.
All right, so Dave's list of risers and winners: Jordan Love, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jalen Warren, Roschon Johnson, Calvin Ridley, Romeo Doubs, Juwan Johnson, and Sam Laporta. Jamey's list is Anthony Richardson at quarterback, which is interesting because he's on Dave's fallers list. So let's start with that debate, Jamey. And where do you have Anthony Richardson ranked?
He is QB9 for me. And again, that's a position that you want to shoot for upside. And I don't know if there's a lot of guys certainly behind him, but even the guys in front of him, that if he does hit, he could be a top 5 quarterback. Again, I'll give you the stat. It's foolproof that if you run for 700 yards or more since 2010, you have averaged 19.9 fantasy points per game
or more. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So Daniel Jones was the worst one at 700 yards. So I don't have the breakdown in front of me of guys that have hit 1,000 yards. I would imagine that's much higher.
There's almost none, right?
There's 3 guys that have done it. It's happened 4 times. Wow. We haven't projected on our site to run for 1,000 yards. I can't imagine anybody that's projecting him to play more than 13 games or 15 games or 17 games is going to have him less than 800 yards rushing. So that's the allure. And so anytime you get these guys running, there's the floor is there. So if the floor is already at that benchmark for the 16 times that it's happened in the last 13 years, there's a pretty good potential here for him to be a very good fantasy quarterback.
Okay, Dave, why is Anthony Richardson on your followers list?
I started with him either QB8, QB9, or QB10, and now he's QB12. So we moved down just a little bit. It's a safety thing. I moved Dak ahead of him. Deshaun, for now, is ahead of him. Tua, for now, is ahead of him. And Look, I hope he certainly can complete more than 40 some odd, 6 of 17. Goodness, that's almost a third of his throws. He's got to be better than that. I think he will be, of course, but he might not get to 60%. What happens in the games where he might average 60 rush yards a game, but what happens in the games where he only gets 45 rush yards? And how can you look at what he did in his last preseason game and say that he's never going to throw interceptions? So there's going to be some turnovers along the way. It could get bumpy. It wouldn't surprise me if he had one of his first 3 games was a dud and the other one was average. And then the third one was a monster, and he could just be up and down. I'm still drafting him as a low end number 1 quarterback. I'm just not doing it as high as I was before. He's after pick 100 for me now.
By the way, when you hear where these guys are ranked, we always do it with 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. In 4-point per passing touchdown leagues, Dave, are you still taking Dak Prescott ahead of him?
I don't think so. I think that's a difference maker, of course.
And I want to be on the record for this. This is my fear about Anthony Richardson. Put me down on the record. My fear is he's not going to be matchup dependent. He's going to be inconsistent, basically, regardless of matchup. Now, I mean, if he's playing a ridiculously good team, then we're not going to start him most likely. But my fear is he's going to be one of those really frustrating players where you just never know when to start him. You just try to pick it because I remember Cam Newton was like that a few years ago, I think with the Patriots, maybe. It's like the matchup just did not matter. Sometimes he had 2 rushing touchdowns and he had a huge game. Sometimes he was just awful. And that's what I fear with Richardson. And
especially defenses that are fast and don't miss a lot of tackles. Those are going to be the defenses that I think
at all. He's just such a wild card from week.
Sure, of course he is. All right, so he's tough.
That's tough.
We can talk about other players and say the exact same thing at other positions that they're total wild cards.
Number 1 at the quarterback position.
I will say this.
So I'll ask you this: how many yards is he going to run for the season?
Plays how many games? 17.
Let's take 2 out. He plays 15 games.
I would say 900 yards in a full season. So I don't know, 800-ish yards in 15 games.
If he's going to get 1,000 yards in 15 games, he needs to average 67 yards a game on the ground.
That's really a lot.
I know. I don't think he'll be that far off from there, though.
I'm just
55
saying, you're going to be frustrated trying to figure out when to start this guy.
Right.
I would just start him every week.
Okay, good luck. All right.
Listen, you can't argue with the upside factor. It's really, and especially, and this is like the whole reason why he's still in my top 12 is there are so many other quarterbacks that are going to be somewhere between 20 and 22 fantasy points per game. And Richardson could be one of those guys for all we know. That's where Jalen Hurts was his first year as a starter in Philly.
Yeah. All right. J.K. Dobbins, Jamey, he's the only running back on your list. Rise.
All he had to do was get healthy. Or just show up, whatever you want to attribute his time to. He's going to have a monster year. Year 2 removed from the ACL. Going to be more involved in the passing game. This is going to be a fantastic offense with Todd Monken calling plays. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a huge year. I can't draft enough J.K. Dobbins. That's a ship I will go down with if he fails.
The only thing that I'm nervous about with Dobbins is he really going to catch a lot of passes? Is he going to be a 50 reception?
No. If you're drafting to be a 50 reception guy, you're making a huge mistake.
Right, but that's why I'm drafting him significantly higher in non-PPR than in full PPR.
That's fair. You should be drafting him higher in non-PPR and half PPR than full PPR. But
okay, awesome.
I still think there's 35 catch upside for him and a chance to be not far off from the rushing yards leader.
1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, Jamey?
I might take the over on his rushing yards.
Okay. All right, let's see. DJ Moore is a rankings riser for you now. So where's DJ Moore for you now?
DJ Moore is just at the 3-4 turn for me.
Okay.
But he's not I think he's not somebody that's risen in the rankings. I mean, I moved him up, I think 1 or 2 spots, from where I initially started. But look, he's going to get the best opportunity maybe of his career.
I feel the same way.
Because he's going to go between rounds 4 and 6 in most drafts.
I do have to say, did you guys watch Justin Fields throw?
Yeah, it wasn't so good.
No, that was the worst he's looked in a long time.
Dude, even the wide receiver screen that he threw to Moore, that Moore took 62 yards.
I know, yeah, not accurate.
Wasn't a good throw.
Yeah.
So he had another completion over the middle to Moore this week that even the Bears announcer said if that were a better throw, he would have had more yards.
Yep.
But it hasn't mattered so far. He's had a great preseason. Here's a weird stat. DJ Moore will be drafted in rounds 4 through 6 in most leagues. Over the last 6 seasons, there have been 18 wide receivers drafted in rounds 4 through 6 that finished top 12 in PPR. 17 of the 18 were on offenses that ranked 16th or better in gross passing yards. Did I give you enough numbers there? 17 of the 18 wide receivers were on offenses that were top half of the league in passing yards.
Makes sense.
I don't think the Bears will be. In fact, I feel pretty confident that they won't be. But we'll see.
But again, you're asking for top 12 production.
Right. You have him, 15th, 16?
In that range.
Yeah. Romeo Dobbs is a riser for you. Dalton Kincaid is a riser for you. Would you take him or Freiermuth, Ingram, Njoku?
It depends on what my roster build is. But he is right behind those guys. So he is, I believe I have it, Freiermuth, Njoku, Ingram, Kincaid. And so if I'm looking for a tight end that I think is going to have a breakout season, I still don't want to take Freiermuth out of that category. But I feel like there is a higher ceiling for Kincaid than there is for Njoku and Ingram. And so what I like to do is take Kincaid and then still try and get one of those guys because that's doable. But the way I have it ranked, I have it Kincaid, Juwan Johnson, Sam Laporta. If I take 2 of those guys, I'm happy. And I'll say this again, depending on the size of your bench, please do not commit to 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends because that will just severely limit your depth at running back and wide receiver. You have a
one or the other.
PS
or neither.
We take a break here. When we come back, rankings fallers and preseason losers in the final 10 minutes of our show. We will be right back. All right, Jamey, let's take a look at your preseason losers, your rankings fallers, Ken Walker and Najee Harris.
Almost all of them are injury related.
Are you taking your riser, J.K. Dobbins, ahead of Ken Walker and Najee Harris?
1,000,000,000%.
Dave, do you agree with that?
Non-PPR, half PPR, full PPR, 1.173 PPR. I agree with that.
Okay. So Dobbins ahead of Walker and Najee.
Would you do that as a Ken Walker guy?
I would definitely take Dobbins over Najee. Yeah, sure. It's funny. I haven't drafted Najee yet, and I should. I mean, Dobbins yet. I should.
You know why you haven't? Because Jamey's taking him.
Well, I mean,
take him a lot.
the guy is always hurt. I don't know what the Gus Edwards situation is going to be, but Gus usually gets a decent amount of work. I don't think Dobbins is bust proof, put it that way, but he's so damn good.
I don't think he's bust proof. I mean, obviously,
no one is.
I'm being aggressive with how I'm drafting him, but I don't think he's bust proof.
Right. All right. I think. All right. If I had 10 drafts, I would take Dobbins 6 times and Walker 4 times.
I think, and we had our father-son draft with my older one this weekend, and I couldn't have been more disappointed and then more proud of my 11-year-old son Ronan, because when he found out he had the 3rd pick, and he said, "I'm going to take Derrick Henry there," and so to his credit, before I disowned him, we changed the format. So we started this league when they were 5 years old. We wanted them to sort of be able to look at the screen and do the simple math of what their scores were, and so we actually changed it right before the draft started. We took a vote and changed it to PPR. So he ended up with Jamar Chase, and the notes that we wrote down, because this was the first year where the kids were doing the draft completely by themselves. So the notes I gave him was Dobbins.
Very nice. I actually was at the park today, and I heard probably like about their 9-year-olds, something like that. They were talking football. It was really funny. One of them was a big Steelers fan. He was talking about his Ben Roethlisberger card that he loved. And this one guy, the other kid, said he loved Justin Jefferson, and the Steelers fans like, Justin Jefferson sucks. And I really so badly wanted to jump in there. I was like what?
You know what? You suck.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, the only reason why he's famous is because he invented the gritty. It's like there's so many things wrong with that. All right. Anyway, Terry McLaurin is a preseason loser for you, and so is Jerry Jeudy. Who are you taking first, McLaurin or Jeudy?
I'm taking McLaurin first, not because I think McLaurin's better, but I'm just concerned that Jeudy is going to be out longer, and potentially you have to worry now about any recurrence of the soft tissue injury that he's dealing with. So mild case of turf toe versus what seems to be a pretty significant hamstring pull. Did we get a grade on it yet? Did Sean Payton ever give a grade on the hamstring?
No, I don't think there's been a report.
Yeah,
we'd be guessing.
It scares me. It really does. And I drafted a lot of Judy as well, so I'm not happy about this. But no, I at this point, both of them are number 3 receivers. Both were, Judy was a top 20 guy for me, and McLaurin was just outside my top 24. But it's very difficult to say that these guys can be trusted in the early part of the season.
Yeah,
round 7, 8.
I think round 7 for both.
All right. Dalton Schultz is on your losers list as well.
I believe he scored a touchdown. I haven't seen it yet, but I think I saw that happen. So that's bad timing by me.
Oh, tonight. Oh, yeah. I forgot about
He's a winner.
I'm just concerned that, we were expecting a guy that was going to be a target hog, and I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yes, I think that's true. But he might be a red zone target hog. Nico had the first touchdown tonight. That was actually a pretty good play.
Well, then Dalton Schultz did not score a touchdown.
Maybe it was nice. I did say
he had a nice 13-yard catch to keep a drive going.
Maybe that's what it was.
All right. Zang. Okay, Dave, you remember that, right?
Zang.
Yeah. Wayne's World 2. Dave, your losers are Anthony Richardson. We talked about him. Ramondre Stevenson.
That's Zeke coming to town. That's me not feeling as good about trusting a Patriots running back. Yes, I think he's got all kinds of potential in PPR. Yes, I'm worried that he's going to lose more than we think as a runner to Ezekiel Elliott. And I'm worried about the offensive line in New England. I'm worried about the offense, worried about the additions that they made, and maybe that could take some target share away from Ramondre. I'm still drafting him if he falls to me in round 4.
You worry too much, Dave. You're just like,
I'm scared of a lot of things. Patriots running backs is certainly one of them. When's the last time we were taking a Patriots running back this high? Round 3, I mean.
Ugh, what was his name? Corey Dillon?
Dillon warranted it.
Yeah.
There was
Stephen Ridley.
Oh boy,
I don't know where his ADP was. But.
It might have. For some reason, I'm thinking like after his big year, we had him in round 1, and boy.
But I mean, just because
can you trust a guy that spells his name Stephen with an A?
Do you see what he just did to Kevin Hart?
Stephen Ridley, yeah.
No,
I kind of.
They raced. Kevin Hart thought he could beat Stephen Ridley, and apparently Kevin Hart tore multiple muscles in his.
Oh no!
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair for a month.
Oh, that is totally going to happen to Schneider when I race him.
Now he has to spell his name Kevan. Kevin Hart.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's a shame.
Yeah. So look, Ramondre, it's even worse for me in non-PPR.
Yeah, I hope people listen to this. I love Ramondre Stevenson.
I hope people listen too. We all have that in common.
Yeah. Where do you have Stevenson in your rank?
Round 3. I moved him 1 spot, 2 spots overall.
Is he in your top 30?
Oh yeah.
No,
top 30. No, I think I moved him outside top 30.
Okay, I got him at 37, so we're not that far off.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, technically he is a rankings faller. I think Dave gave a very gloomy outlook, but you still have him 37th. So
right, because at one point he was he might have been 25th.
Right. Okay. Rashad Penny, all Dolphins running backs are losers for you.
Yes, but Penny is not on the Dolphins, not yet. Dolphins are going to use multiple backs all year until they trade for Jonathan Taylor on Tuesday, and then none of those guys will be worth a darn. Penny might just be touchdown or bust running back in Philly.
Happen, right? You can't just throw that out there.
No, even if Jonathan Taylor stays in Indy, I'm not going to be excited about 28-year-old Jeff Wilson, 31-year-old Raheem Mostert, although he looks kind of good. The rookie Devon A-Chain, who's banged up, and then Savon Ahmed got hurt. They're going to use multiple running backs every week. It's almost like what you said with Anthony Richardson. Even if it's a great matchup for the Dolphins, you'll feel nervous about using any one of them. Good bye week replacement guys, I guess.
They're great late round guys until Jonathan Taylor's there.
Yeah, that's the best part about the Dolphins running backs is they are going super late. Maybe we're talking round 10. And I've read 2 articles in the last week or so with different beat reporters guessing that Jeff Wilson would be the best running back on the team.
Well, he's the easy one to sort of I don't want to say hope for, but lean toward because of age. And most I agree with Dave. Most of looks good. This offense is going to be good, and so it's like you're getting a piece of this offense for free.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, but at what point do you turn to one of these running backs, assuming Jonathan Taylor's an Indy, and say, all right, I can start this guy?
Well, if you're drafting your starting running back in round 10, then you really went 0 RB. So
right, but like even if you go 0 RB,
but
what's the situation going to be where you're starting Raheem Mostert with confidence?
There's 3 scenarios that play out with the Dolphins running backs. One plays more than the other, and you cut the one that if you've made the mistake and drafted the wrong one. One gets hurt, which that never happens with those 2 guys. So you play the one that is on your team if you have the right one, or you cut them because neither one is doing enough to help you. And most players that you draft in round 10 probably get cut. So the upside is way, 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 way more in the favor of that than there is the downside. So it's
but
not
what's
a bad
more
idea
likely though? Like what's the likelihood that you can peg one of these running backs and they end up being a starter for you?
Well, can I just jump in and what do you think about this? If it's the same type of usage as last year when it was just Wilson and Mostert, then you're going to have a starter there on some weeks, not an every week starter, but that was a lot of productivity. If they start mixing in a third guy, then we got a problem.
Which I think we'll see.
That's okay. So you agree with that sentiment? If it's only and let's wrap up on that. If it's only the 2 of them, then you're worth, then they're going to be questionable.
And then, A-Chain might not be ready to go week 1. And so it would be the 2 of them. Who do they play week 1? It's the Chargers. You might be able to make the case for Mostert to be your start of the week, Jamey.
Oh, no. That's a little low end. Right, let's finish up here, Dave. All Broncos are on your.
I have not liked much from this. Like when Marvin Mims is the highlight of the offense, then you know that it's not going to be a great offense. Forget about McGlinchey not playing. The interior of the offensive line was terrible. Russ as a runner, sure, he looked good. As a thrower, looked a lot like last year. They're going to begin the year without Jerry Jeudy on the field. That's what it looks like. Maybe there's something there for Cortland Sutton. We can definitely give him credit as like a round 8, 9, 10 type of pick. Maybe a wide receiver 3 to begin the year and someone you're drop kicking off your roster by the time Halloween comes around. Javante's looked okay. Samaje Perine has looked okay. I don't feel good about this Broncos offense, and I'm especially worried that they might play a lot of, mixing and matching and complementary football. So there isn't one guy that's head and shoulders above the rest.
Okay. Like there is on this podcast, by the way. You have to figure out at home who is head and shoulders above the rest.
It's you, Adam.
Oh, come on. It's nobody. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow okay. By the way, this is a crazy week for us because of those CBS Sports Network shows. So our podcast, you're going to have to check YouTube for the schedule basically, but we're doing a show Monday night. We're not doing a show Tuesday morning, a podcast that is. We might be doing a show Tuesday afternoon. Maybe we'll see. Most important thing is Draftathon, 4 through 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. We'll see you there and have a great night, everybody. Talk to you sometime this week on Fantasy Football Today.